Alright, howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the last stand of a decade-old free-to-play FPS, Heroes and Generals. A little while ago, the developers of the game announced a few big things. First of all, they are looking to get funding from the community via Kickstarter to fund the development of Heroes and Generals 2, but they're also going to sadly be turning off the servers for the current version of Heroes and Generals. I will not be talking much about the content of their upcoming game. I think it's way too early to really dive deeper into that for now, though perhaps there's room to do so in a future video when there's just more footage and information out to talk about. What we are going to be talking about in this video is the Kickstarter and the fact that they are indeed going to be shutting down the servers for Heroes and Generals. They haven't specifically stated when or where, though they did say it'll happen probably within the next 6 months or so. Now, I don't know the financial situation at the development studio, and it's not really my place to talk about it, but I find it weird that they are shutting down the servers for the original game this early. Obviously, it's a free-to-play game, so the money is being made by selling premium currency to paying customers. It's another question though, how many people are willing to spend money on a game that is announced that it's shutting down the servers completely. Not having that revenue source while also not having Heroes and Generals 2 available to the public just seems a little weird, though perhaps they are banking on the Kickstarter being able to help make up for a loss in revenue. One also has to wonder how much it actually costs to keep these servers for Heroes and Generals up. Personally, I have absolutely zero experience and no idea, but if anyone in the comments as much as has a clue how much it would cost for a company to have these servers up, I'm always interested in seeing what you guys have to say about it down in the comments. A lot of people are somewhat rightfully angry that Heroes and Generals is shutting down the servers, and they are thus losing their access to stuff they paid or grinded for. However, I feel very conflicted on this part. Online service games such as Heroes and Generals or any of the wargaming titles like World of Tanks, World of Warships, or even a game like War Thunder are perfect examples to what can and also will happen if the developers decide to shut the servers down. I myself have spent hundreds of dollars over the years playing World of Warships with the full knowledge that one day they'll just pull the plug, shut the servers down, and all that time, energy, and money will just be gone or somewhat wasted. Where I feel conflicted is the time you spend doing something you enjoyed isn't necessarily wasted time, though I don't like the idea that any real money you spent on, say, buying a premium vehicle in War Thunder will be lost. Whether this is a premium tank in World of Tanks or War Thunder, a premium ship in World of Warships, or just something in Heroes and Generals, paying for something which you know will eventually be taken away sounds kind of stupid, but with me, hundreds if not thousands of people have done it and are going to be doing it. Interesting note is that the Heroes and Generals developers have said there will not be any account migration from their old game to their new game besides reserving your in-game name or clan name. Now I myself have spent less than 300 hours on the game and have definitely not spent more than $100 over the years, but I can definitely imagine some players who have spent a lot more than that over the last decade are upset that they aren't even going to be able to transfer anything to the new game. If anything, all the premium currency still left in players' inventories should at least be transferred from the old game to the new game, though perhaps the developers will change this stance. For now, the game will have everyone start off from scratch again. I think this move did create some bad feelings from the most seasoned players, or at least the ones who spent a lot of money on the game over the years, towards the developer team and of course Heroes and Generals 2. This has led to a lot of very negative comments on Steam announcements and on Twitter posts regarding the Kickstarter. Talking about the Kickstarter, there are a few things we have to mention. First off is the fact that the Kickstarter was originally for $3 million, it was then lowered to $2 million after a bunch of community feedback. Furthermore, at one point the Kickstarter had raised about $180,000 US, though at the time of writing this, it sits at barely $95,000. This huge drop of people basically taking their pledge away of almost 50% happened pretty gradually after the developers hosted an hour-long Q&A, tried to answer questions the community had regarding the future of Heroes and Generals 1 and Heroes and Generals 2. Now, I skimmed through this Q&A and I didn't think it was either particularly useful or horrible, but I did notice a few things which I found interesting. Firstly, the head of publishing at TLM, who goes by Metlin, answered the following question: what will happen to Heroes and Generals 2 if the Kickstarter does not succeed? His answer was, quote, "We don't want to focus on if it doesn't succeed, but we are looking at other ways to fund it, other things to do, so don't worry, that's not the end of the road for us, end quote. This seems like a weird thing to say when you're actively trying to convince people to pledge a total of $2 million to your Kickstarter for your new game. Personally, I understood this as, don't worry about it, we'll figure this out either way, so don't bother giving us your money for this Kickstarter. Another interesting thing that I haven't found anywhere else is the roadmap for the game from now until the official release. I'll have it here on screen so you can check it out, which as far as I know, the only place it was posted was during this Q&A, and I do have a few questions regarding this roadmap. At what moment in this roadmap are they going to be introducing microtransactions into the game? Is it in the alpha phase or not all the way until the full release planned in the spring of 2025? Will people's progress in the game be reset before the public release? And why wasn't this roadmap shared at the launch of the Kickstarter or basically anywhere else but this Q&A? Of note is that they have said there will only be 2 factions, focusing on the US and Germany. However, in the roadmap, it does say there will be player factions and sub-factions and that all of them will be finished. Are the British a sub-faction? The Italians? The Soviets? I'm not sure what a sub-faction is in the eyes of the development team, though I am eager to know if they'll have more than just American and German equipment or vehicles. Their Q&A does mention that other nations' gear may end up being available, but this is all really vague and it's really set to be Axis versus the Allies. Moving on to the actual Kickstarter and the pledges available for it. This is where I was surprised, honestly, not to see any in-game content being advertised, like weapons, vehicles, though it might just be a little bit too early for that sort of stuff. They are, however, including things such as exclusive in-game helmets, skins, or real life goodies like sweaters. Most interesting to me is probably the $750 tier, which is a lot of money, where you can design a skin for a weapon to be introduced into the game. Delivery on all of these is April of 2024, but as often happens with Kickstarter, this isn't a set in stone date and is probably more of a guideline. Now, the reward tiers are a little interesting. There's a lot of in-between fluff that I won't talk about, but I wanted to take a look at the cheapest and the most expensive tiers. For $5, you get a quote notification when open beta starts and the forum opens to the public, end quote, all the way up to a, since removed, $10,000 tier, which included a quote plane ticket to Las Vegas, Nevada, and a hotel stay in Las Vegas for 2 nights, end quote, and a whole bunch more to do with the development process. This is limited to only 4 pledges and was actually fully sold out on the first day or 2 of the Kickstarter having been launched. I then, however, believe that either 3 or all 4 of the backers took their $10,000 pledge back, and the tier has actually since then been removed. It's also weird how they use the Kickstarter to proudly describe what TLM has brought to the game after they acquired Ritomoto, and one of the things they proudly talk about is the addition of a battle pass to the game. In my opinion, the whole battle pass system added to video games over the last decade or so is one of the worst inventions in modern gaming, and mentioning it specifically as if it's something that does anything to a game but make its monetization worse is honestly hilarious to me, but that's besides the points of this video. However, if I get the opportunity to rag on a battle pass system, I will 1000% take it all the time. So, Heroes and Generals will be gone soon, without any way to keep playing it. The developers have stated they will not be providing for players to rent servers to keep the game online themselves, and I think everyone who plays these types of games knows that one day the servers will be gone and all progress will be lost, but to have it actually happen to you is obviously still a huge shocker. I guess later tonight when you log on to War Thunder, World of Warships, or any similar online service game, make sure to hold your digital goodies extra tight and realize your time with them is limited. Now personally, I am excited for Heroes in General to start a new chapter, but I think going via Kickstarter with such a high amount specifically was just a bad idea. I do have a lot of good memories playing this game over the last decade or so, and if you want to relive some of those memories, you have just a few months to do so before the servers are shut down. Now what do you think about all this? Were you someone who spent a lot of hours or money in Heroes in Generals? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.